Live from Texas, this is the Will Cain Show. Another judge, another ruling. This judge telling the Trump administration to return a second man deported to El Salvador. A judge saying a 20-year-old Venezuelan man named Christian had a court-approved agreement and should not have been deported. We'll follow the details of that case as it unfolds. It will be important to keep up with the maturation of that story, every detail, because every detail in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been a small explosion in the face of Democrats. It has been a slow-motion train wreck. We're now learning new details today, including that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was pulled over driving a car belonging to a human smuggler. Quote, Abrego Garcia was driving a black 2001 Chevrolet Suburban that he said belonged to his boss. The Suburban was then identified by DHS as belonging to Hernandez Reyes, who pleaded guilty to human smuggling after being caught in Mississippi in a car with passengers from Mexico, El Salvador, and Honduras. What a turn of events. Yet the latest detail that has exploded the narrative of the Maryland father. Governor Rick Perry of the great state of Texas once made a horrendous mistake on the Republican debate stage. He wanted to name 3 departments that he would cancel as president of the United States. He only managed to remember 2. Having not learned that mistake, I'm going to walk you through now, together, hopefully, the 10 steps that led to this slow-motion train wreck for Democrats. 1, let's start with the narrative, the story that Donald Trump has arrested and deported a Maryland father.
The Supreme Court orders the Trump administration to return the Maryland father who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador's notorious prison.
A Maryland father.
The Maryland father.
The Maryland father.
He will not return the Maryland father.
Maryland father.
The Trump administration claims it is not required to bring back Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland father wrongfully deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador.
A Maryland father. That could be any American citizen, any father who lives in Maryland. That could be Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. It could be you. But 2, we quickly learned that Kilmar Abrego Garcia had a deportation order, a standing deportation order, yes, with a withholding standing notice not to deport him, but he had been judged as an illegal immigrant capable of deportation. And that then shifted 3, the story to the ubiquitous term you've all come to know, now a Maryland man.
Of a man who used to live in Maryland until he was taken away.
This issue about the Maryland man.
Maryland man.
A Maryland man.
Maryland man.
The growing calls to return the Maryland man.
That Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
The wrongful deportation of a Maryland man.
There are literally millions of Maryland men. There are ones right now living in Bethesda, pushing their kids down the street on a bike, teaching them how to ride 2 wheels before they commute into work in Washington, D.C. And the story is clear. They're deporting Maryland men. They may deport you. They're deporting Americans. Then 4, we learned that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has ties to gangs. In fact, MS-13. Allegations of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's ties to MS-13 come from law enforcement. Abrego Garcia was validated as a member of the MS-13 gang. Subject was identified as Chiqueo from the Western Clique. These were all allegations, according to the media and to Democrats. They were not, in fact, facts. But there were facts, like Abrego Garcia's tattoos, which we soon saw. We notably saw them in a visit from Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Those tattoos, according to gang experts, are affiliated with gangs like MS-13. And yet, the commitment of Democrats to Kilmar Abrego Garcia reached a fever pitch. 5, every Democrat rallied to his cause. The media rallied to his cause.
We do not disappear people.
The Trump administration abducted and imprisoned a Maryland man.
We're getting hundreds and hundreds of calls. People saying, go to El Salvador, do something.
If they can trample his rights, as the president's talking about doing, then they can trample the rights of everyone who lives in America.
Just how the Constitution works and saying the government can't disappear people.
We are here to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia is just like you, and they can't disappear people, not in America. Then, next, we learned that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has domestic violence protection order against him, allegations from his wife. In the filing written in Vasquez's own writing, that's his wife, she alleges Abrego Garcia repeatedly beat her, writing, "At this point, I'm afraid to be close to him. I have multiple photos, videos of how violent he can be and all the bruises he has left me. In November 2020, he hit me with his work boot," she wrote. In August 2020, he hit me in the eye, leaving a purple eye. Then we saw Democrats make trips. They started to move down to El Salvador to visit this person who is supposed to be just like you and a stand-in for the rights of Americans, most notably due process.
Federal courts have said we need to bring Mr. Abrego Garcia home to protect his constitutional rights to due process.
They're on some type of temporary status. They deserve a day in court and due process.
They're scared that they'll be sent to another country with zero due process.
Nothing more American than due process.
The pivot to due process and away from the man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, perhaps was smart because, 8, we began to get more information about who exactly this man is. We learned that in 2022, he was pulled over and suspected of human trafficking. There were 8 passengers in the car. All passengers gave the same home address as Abrego Garcia. He was cited for driving with an expired license. He feigned not knowing English. They then, because his story continues to unravel, tripled down on our principles, our rule of law, our due process, our Constitution. But 9, J.D. Vance says that's exactly what's been received by Kilmar Abrego Garcia, due process.
I just disagree with the idea that he hasn't been offered due process. He had a couple of immigration hearings. He had a valid deportation order. I think there's actually a deeper issue going on, which is that you see some radical judges at the district court level who are trying to layer so much quote-unquote process on top of the immigration system that it makes it impossible to function. We have over 20 million illegal aliens in the United States of America. Are we not allowed to deport them? Because if we're not allowed to deport them, then what these district courts are saying is fundamentally they reject the will of the American people as it was expressed in November of 2024.
This man who has received due process brings us finally to number 10. The detail that when he was pulled over with those 8 illegal immigrants, he was driving his boss's car, and his boss had been charged with human smuggling. The case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a bomb that has exploded in the face of Democrats, leaving them standing side by side in photo ops and in videos, cheering and championing someone who is most definitely an illegal immigrant, alleged to be a gang member, alleged to be a domestic violence and human smuggler. And yet here they are today, standing there, arm in arm, with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.